You remember the exact moment the screen flashed green and the math finally made sense, the moment you realized that money could be summoned with a single click. It felt like you had discovered a hidden doorway to freedom, but you didn't realize the market wasn't opening its arms to welcome you. It was setting a trap for your ego. You thought you were learning how to trade, but you were actually just learning how to gamble with your heartbeat. So you take the plunge. You download a trading app, set up an account, and deposit a small test amount. Nothing crazy, just enough to see what happens. Suddenly, you're staring at a digital labyrinth of endless charts and prices that flicker every single second. It's a total sensory overload. You have no clue what's actually happening, but it's an absolute rush, like you just sat down at a high-stakes poker table for the first time. You watch a few how-to videos on strategy, hearing fancy terms like support, resistance, and indicators. It sounds complex, but the underlying message is always the same. Buy when it goes up, sell before it drops. That's it. You place that first trade and feel your heart start to hammer against your ribs. The price jumps, the numbers on your screen twitch, and your balance shifts every single second. When you finally close it out for a tiny profit, it hits you, this is real. You've felt the power of the market, and suddenly you're convinced that trading is easy, that anyone can do it, and that a fortune is just waiting for you behind that glass screen. But that first win is exactly how the market pulls you in, hooking you into a cycle that's nearly impossible to break. Have you ever felt that rush of your first win and thought you were a genius? You're officially hooked. That first profit hits your account. Maybe it's only $5 or the cost of a cheap lunch, but the amount doesn't actually matter. What matters is the psychological switch that just flipped inside your brain. Suddenly, those green candles aren't just pixels on a screen. They are cold, hard proof that the market is a literal ATM. You start thinking, if I can make $5 in 10 minutes, why can't I make 500? This is where the shift happens. You stop looking at the charts to understand support and resistance, and you start trading for the pure, uncut rush of the hunt. It's like being a kid with a new video game, except this one pays you. You're chasing that spike of dopamine every time the price flickers. Your behavior starts to morph too. You aren't sitting at a professional desk anymore. Your phone has become your primary trading floor. You're checking your positions under the table at dinner, in the middle of a conversation, or the second you wake up. You find yourself increasing your trading frequency because you're addicted to the movement, not the strategy. Are you even looking at the indicators anymore? Or are you just craving the thrill of the win? So you double down. You start cranking up those position sizes, throwing way more capital onto the fire, and trading faster and faster as if speed could somehow outrun your mistakes. There is this incredibly dangerous voice in your head whispering that the next trade, the big one, is going to fix everything and wipe your slate clean. But here is the cold truth. The market doesn't reward gamblers forever. Eventually, a single trade moves way too fast and way too far against you. Just one. And in the blink of an eye, that single loss incinerates weeks or even months of your hard-earned progress. That is when you realize, usually the hard way, that trading is not a game of luck. The market is absolutely merciless to gamblers. Welcome to level 3, the student. At this point, the initial high starts to fade. It's not that the market isn't interesting anymore. It's that losing money is just plain exhausting. You're tired of the random entries, the emotional roller coasters, and staring at flickering screens at 3 in the morning, hoping the lines move your way. So you stop asking, how do I win the next trade? And you start asking the question that changes everything. What am I doing wrong? Have you ever hit that wall where you just couldn't take the losses anymore? Tell me your bottom-out story in the comments. This shift stops the chase for signals and starts the hunt for real knowledge. Suddenly, you're binging long-form tutorials and deep dives into technical analysis. Your charts, once clean, are now a spiderweb of lines as you learn about support, resistance, liquidity, and risk management. It's overwhelming at first, especially when every guru claims they have the secret. But slowly, the fog lifts. You realize the market isn't random. It's alive. It's driven by people. It's like a massive mirror reflecting human emotion. Fear drags the prices down while greed catapults them up, creating footprints in the snow that appear over and over again. You begin studying charts differently, not looking for fast profits, looking for structure. You start marking levels, watching how price reacts, noticing how certain zones repeat. You start diving into the psychology of the game, reading every book you can find on the trader's mindset. That is when the reality hits you. The market isn't your enemy. You are. It's your own impatience, your own paralyzing fear, and that dangerous overconfidence that keeps tripping you up. To fight back, you start journaling, tracking every single move, and documenting exactly what went right or where you messed up. There are even nights where you don't place a single trade. You just sit there in quiet observation, watching the charts move for hours without clicking a button. It's a slow, frustrating, and honestly boring stage, but it's where true discipline is born. You finally realize that trading isn't gambling, it's a game of probability. But those probabilities only work if you actually follow your rules. Then comes level 4, the demo trader. After months of studying, you realize that knowing the theory is easy, but applying it with real cash is the hard part. The second real money is on the line, those old emotions come screaming back. Fear and doubt make you want to close a winning trade too early or hold onto a losing one way too long. So, you decide to pull the pressure off and open a demo account. First, it feels weird. The profits don't give you that high, and the losses don't sting. But something massive happens. You actually start following your plan. You wait for the right setups, you mark your levels, and you plan the trade before you enter. Suddenly, the outcome of one trade matters less because the integrity of your process matters more. You begin testing different strategies across various time frames and markets. Some ideas fail instantly, but others start showing real, steady consistency. You're about to learn something incredibly powerful. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and click the bell, because you don't want to miss how this journey ends. Have you ever noticed how much easier it is to trade when it's not your rent money on the line? Some ideas fail quickly, others start showing consistency. You learn something powerful. You soon realize that you don't need 100 different tricks. Just one solid strategy is enough to win if you have the grit to stay disciplined. You start collecting data like a scientist, reviewing trade after trade and day after day. You aren't just looking at entry and exit points or identifying where you messed up and how to improve. You're looking for patterns. But here's the kicker. Those patterns aren't just on the charts. They're in you. You start noticing exactly when you get impatient, when you try to force a trade that isn't there, and that dangerous moment when your confidence starts turning into pure arrogance. Your demo account becomes a vital training ground, a safe space to fail without going broke and a place to master the art of patience. Some nights you might take 10 trades and other nights you take absolutely 0. You're finally starting to understand what the pros know. Trading is mostly waiting, not action. You're waiting for the perfect moment, the right price, and that specific setup. Weeks go by, your strategy gets sharper, and your confidence grows, but there's still this nagging feeling. Demo trading is like a flight simulator. It teaches you how the plane works, but it can never truly prepare you for the gut-wrenching turbulence of risking real money. Does demo trading ever feel real to you? Or do you find yourself taking risks you'd never take with your own cash? Eventually, the simulation isn't enough. Your journals look great and the charts make sense, but that real-world pressure is missing. So, you step back into the live market as level 5, the retail trader. This time, everything is different. You aren't rushing, you've muted all those random online signals, and you've learned to just wait. You watch the charts quietly, sometimes for hours. Your trading screen looks different now. Your trading screen is now a sanctuary of order. You're looking at clean charts and clearly defined levels with a simple strategy that cuts through the noise. There's absolutely no chaos here. When your setup finally appears, you enter the trade instantly. There's no spiked adrenaline and no second-guessing, just pure, cold execution. You've slashed your position size down to something much smaller than before because you finally respect the risk. You live by one core principle. A single trade must never, ever be capable of destroying your account. Even as the price ticks back and forth and your old emotions start to act like a backseat driver, whispering at you to just grab the cash and run, you stay the course. You follow the plan. Sometimes the result is a small, controlled win that hits your target perfectly. Other times, the trade hits a stop, but the loss is tiny, exactly what your rules allowed for. You log it in your journal without a hint of anger or the urge to go on a revenge trading spree. To you, it's just data. It's just information. Weeks pass, and your balance grows with a slow, steady pulse rather than a wild, erratic spike. Some weeks end in the green, others in the red, but the account survives. And let's be real, survival is the ultimate goal. Have you realized yet that retail trading isn't actually about getting rich quick? It's about staying in the game long enough to actually get good. Every single trade is a lesson. Every mistake exposes a weakness, and every disciplined choice you make adds to your vault of experience. You aren't gambling anymore. You are managing risk. This leads us to level 6, the consistent trader. This is where something fundamental begins to change. It isn't happening in the market, though. In you, the charts look the same. The candles move the same, but the way you react to them is different. You stop chasing every single move. You no longer wake up feeling like you absolutely must trade every day just to stay productive. In fact, some days you open the charts, scan the candles, and simply close them again because there's no setup. And guess what? That feels perfectly fine. You finally realize that high-quality trades are rare, and forcing them is the fastest way to destroy an account. So you wait. You wait patiently and quietly while the market forms its structure. Suddenly, those levels you marked days ago start to matter again as price returns to them. When the setup finally hits, you take the trade with a calm, focused, almost mechanical execution. The result doesn't even feel dramatic anymore. A win is expected. A loss is accepted. Both outcomes are just part of the plan. You follow the same rules trade after trade, the same entry criteria, the same stop loss, and the exact same risk percentage. Nothing changes. Over weeks and months, your results stabilize and your account grows slowly. It's not explosive, and it's definitely not those viral social media profits, but it's steady and professional. You realize that consistency doesn't come from winning more. It comes from losing correctly. It's about small losses, controlled damage, and the fierce protection of your capital. Your journal becomes your best tool, and you review it constantly. But you aren't searching for mistakes anymore. You're searching for refinement, better timing, more patience, and small improvements. The biggest change has happened in your mind. The market isn't an opponent to fight. It's an environment to observe. You understand something that beginners never believe. Trading success is mostly boredom, routine, discipline, and repetition. Because the consistent trader doesn't need a dopamine hit. He needs a process. The moment that process becomes automatic, you realize something powerful. You're no longer trying to beat the market. You're simply executing a system that works over time. This is level 7, the professional. At some point, trading stops feeling like a high-stakes game or a mountain to climb. It becomes routine. You open the charts every day, looking at the same screens and the same analysis, but your approach has changed again. You no longer search for trades. You wait for them. On most days, absolutely nothing happens. The market moves, sure, but the setups you trust never appear. So you just close the charts and move on with your day. This used to feel impossible, didn't it? Before, you needed the action. You needed the excitement of being in a trade just to feel alive. Now you understand something most traders never learn. Not trading is a deliberate decision, and often, it's the best one you can make. When the setup finally appears, you already know exactly what to do. The plan was written long before the trade even existed. Everything, the entry, the stop loss, the target, and the risk, is defined before you ever click a button. The actual execution takes only seconds, but the patience behind it took years to develop. You watch the trade the same way a pilot monitors their flight instruments. Calm, focused, and completely detached, because emotions no longer belong in the cockpit. A win is recorded, a loss is recorded, and both are treated exactly the same. It's just another line in the journal, another data point in the system. By now, your daily routine barely changes. Wake up, check the markets, analyze the charts, wait, and execute only if needed. Review the results, then repeat it all tomorrow. By this stage, trading becomes a much quieter, more private affair. You stop chatting about it with friends or trying to explain the grind to people who just don't get it. From the outside looking in, nothing about your life looks exciting anymore. There are no dramatic moments or wild, overnight profits. Just discipline, patience, and a system that actually works. A professional trader doesn't chase the market. He prepares for it. When that opportunity finally flashes on the screen, he's been ready for it long before the trade even began. Then you hit level 8, the funded trader. Your consistency is finally visible, not to the world, but to other professionals. Your journal proves your discipline, your risk management is rock solid, and your strategy is producing results. Slowly and quietly but consistently. This is when a new door opens. Prop firms and investment capital. Suddenly, the numbers change. The charts look identical, but the capital behind the clicks is on a different planet. We're talking $10,000, $50,000, or even $100,000. But here's the catch. It's money that isn't yours, and that changes everything. When you trade your own cash, you only answer to yourself. With funded capital, you're answering to strict, unbreakable rules like daily loss limits and maximum drawdown. One single mistake or one emotional trade can end the account instantly, erasing months of hard work. The pressure doesn't feel like fear anymore. It feels like responsibility. You find yourself reviewing those rules every morning. Maximum loss per day, max risk per trade, max drawdown allowed. These numbers aren't restrictions. They're boundaries designed for protection, because prop firms don't care about your excitement. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, because the stakes are only going higher from here. Prop firms and big investment houses don't care about your adrenaline. They only care about survival. In this high-stakes environment, the trader who lasts is the one who respects their limits, period. Because of that, your trading becomes even quieter. You're taking fewer trades, hunting for only the cleanest setups, and practicing a level of patience that would have been impossible for your younger self. There are some days where you don't even place a single trade. Not because you're scared, but because the opportunity simply isn't perfect. You've stopped thinking like a gambler or even just a regular trader. You're now a risk manager. You are a manager of capital. Every decision you make carries a massive weight now because this account isn't just a number on a balance sheet. It's a living symbol of trust. It's trust in your ability to handle size and, more importantly, trust that you can control yourself. The profits might be growing larger, but so are the consequences of messing up. A single mistake could close that funded account forever, so you slow down even more. You're reviewing every trade carefully, tracking every decision, and studying every mistake like your life depends on it. The market hasn't changed, but your role inside it has. You're no longer just trading, you're protecting assets. The real skill in trading isn't making money. It's protecting it. This leads you to level 9, the market veteran. Years have passed now, filled with thousands of trades and endless data points. But the biggest change isn't in the market. It's in your experience. You've seen things most traders never survive long enough to witness. Bull markets, bear markets, sudden crashes, and rallies that come out of nowhere. You've lived through days where everything moves perfectly and days where nothing makes any sense. When you started, every move felt personal. Every loss felt unfair. Every win felt like proof you were right. But experience changes that perspective because the longer you stay in the market, the more you understand something important. Make sure to like, comment, and hit the bell because we're reaching the pinnacle of this journey. The market is infinitely larger than any single trader. You finally accept that no strategy can control its path, no indicator can predict it with perfect accuracy, and no human being will ever master it completely. Instead of just staring at candles, you start recognizing behavioral patterns in people. You see how fear spreads like a wildfire during crashes and how greed explodes like a firework during rallies. It's wild watching beginners rush into trades at the exact moment professionals are quietly exiting. You've seen bubbles grow at a snail's pace only to burst in a single violent moment, and you've watched entire markets collapse overnight. Crypto crashes, stock market corrections, and news events where billions of dollars vanish in mere hours. You've seen it all. But your reaction is what has truly transformed. The volatility that used to feel like a terrifying storm now feels as familiar as an old friend. Instead of panicking, you observe. Instead of rushing, you wait. Experience has become your greatest teacher of patience. You don't feel the need to predict every single move anymore. You only need to recognize an opportunity when it actually shows up. Your screen still looks the same, charts, numbers, and candles moving every second, but you see them through a different lens. You aren't searching for excitement. You're hunting for probability through clean setups, clear structure, and controlled risk. You've stopped trying to impress anyone, so there are no more screenshots, no social media bragging, and no pointless arguments over predictions. It's just quiet work, analysis, and execution over and over again. The veteran trader doesn't try to outsmart the market. He respects it because he's seen what happens to traders who forget that rule. And by this point in the journey, you realize something most beginners never believe. He respects it because he's seen what happens to traders who forget that rule. And by this point in the journey, you realize something most beginners never believe. The longer you trade, the less dramatic the whole thing becomes. That lack of noise is exactly what makes it sustainable. You've reached level 10, the independent trader. Years have passed, and you've looked at thousands of charts and executed thousands of trades. Your account didn't grow through some explosive viral moment. It grew quietly, through small wins and small losses, month after month and year after year. At some point, the internal shift is total. Trading stops feeling like a desperate struggle for survival and finally starts feeling like freedom. Your workspace is still simple, just a laptop, a clean chart, and a quiet room, but the numbers on that screen are on a different level now. The profits are larger, the account size is massive, and your lifestyle begins to evolve along with it. You move to a better apartment, a better city, maybe even halfway across the world to another country. Your mornings are finally peaceful. There's no boss breathing down your neck, no office to commute to, and no schedule forced on you by someone else. It's just the market opening and your charts waiting for you. Sure, trading can buy the luxury, the nice cars, the beautiful watches, and those expensive vacations, and it definitely makes those things possible. But something surprising happens along the way. The things you once thought were the ultimate goal stop being important because you realize money was never the real reward. The real reward was control. It was control over your time, control over your decisions, and total control over your life. While millions of other traders are still out there chasing fast profits and social media is exploding with wild predictions, your world feels slower and more controlled. You don't chase trades, you wait. You don't gamble. You manage risk. You don't try to be right, you just try to be consistent. From the outside, it doesn't look exciting. There are no dramatic moments or loud successes, just quiet discipline day after day. The real secret of trading is something beginners rarely believe. The best traders are usually invisible. They don't make flashy posts or loud predictions. They just focus on execution, routine, and patience. As the charts close for the night, the room becomes quiet. Somewhere, a new trader is opening their very first account. They're placing their first trade and feeling that first rush of profit, fueled by the same excitement you once felt. They have that same dream of easy money and the belief that this is also simple. They are just beginning the long journey you've already finished. And the market is waiting for them just like it waited for you.